Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Andrea Kaminsky, and I'd like to introduce Andrew Hysell, running for State Assembly in District 48. As we begin, I'd like to give you, ask you to do an opening statement as to the educational, vocational, and civic experience that you have, which prepares you for this office, and why you're running for State Assembly.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. So, by way of introduction, Andrew Hysell. I've been serving in this position in the 48th Assembly District for the past term. I was elected first in 2024. My background includes undergraduate at Carroll University, political science and economics, and a law degree from Georgetown University. I currently work as an attorney at Lawton Cates. And in terms of the other experience that I bring with me is a really long background actually in advocacy. I worked for Save the Children, U.S. programs, and I worked for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, two nonprofits where I worked on advocacy initiatives in states around the country as well as on Capitol Hill. One of the greatest professional experiences I had working for Save the Children was working for the Let's Move campaign with First Lady Michelle Obama during the Obama administration. They were bringing together folks from around the country, different organizations to try to find ways to address children's health and the epidemic of childhood obesity that the nation suffers from. Currently, I've got 2 years of experience under my belt in this position. I'm ranking member on the Judiciary Committee, which is really unusual for a freshman member, but I am the ranking member on that committee, also Constitution and Ethics and the Rules Committee. That's provided me a lot of experience with how legislation is conceived, discussed, refined, and ultimately passed. And in Sun Prairie, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the Rotary and the Optimist Club, very involved with some of the local nonprofits like Sunshine Place. And I think that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you. How would you like to see the state utilize the current budget surplus?
Yeah, so I actually voted against the proposal that was put forward because I felt that the surplus wasn't being used to fix the structural issues that we're dealing with in this state. I think it's really important as representatives of the people when they send us to the Capitol that when we do policy, it really addresses the problem, the root problem, and it just doesn't cover over it, doesn't paper over it maybe for political gain or political posturing. I want the surplus to be part of a proposal that would shift the funding of schools and municipalities off the backs of local taxpayers and shift more of it back to the state where it has been historically. The reason we're having all these referendums is because the system has changed and the state is giving less of our state income and sales tax back to localities. And that's why they keep coming back and back to the local taxpayer looking for additional funds.
Okay. What guardrails, if any, would you support to protect our environment, health, property values, household budgets, from large projects such as hyperscale data centers and commercial agricultural feed operations?
Yeah, what I would support is our statewide rules. We don't have any statewide rules right now for data centers. I'm an author of Assembly Bill 772, which would create rules. I mean, without those kinds of protections, we can't ensure that the environmental consequences aren't going to harm our environment. I mean, they use so much water, they use so much power. We also have to be concerned about ratepayers. I don't want local utility ratepayers bearing the costs either initially or subsequently from data centers. So we need statewide regulations and rules. And unfortunately, this legislature with a Republican majority refused to pass anything. So I think that is absolutely a priority next year when we come back to get that done.
Okay. Thank you. What, if anything, should the state legislature do to improve election processes and safeguard election integrity?
So we have very safe elections. I want to be clear on that. There's no question objectively about it. This is purely a political frame that is being forced upon us by folks in Washington, D.C. Right now in the state of Wisconsin, the election officials in my district, I know them. They're some of the most upstanding, hardworking people that I know, and they go in at 5, 6 in the morning and volunteer all day until all the votes are done and tabulated and all the processes are followed. I'm an attorney. I work in the court system. This is a non-issue. This is purely a political game. We have very safe elections, and we need to take steps to ensure that the federal government does not insert itself where it does not belong in this year's elections. I am legitimately concerned about that.
Okay. Share with our audience an example of an effort with which you've been involved that demonstrates how you can be effective in creating policy change.
Ways that I could be involved. Well, I'll give you an example. Right now in the state of Wisconsin, they have a cap on their small claims court where people can go if they can't afford a lawyer and they need to go and represent themselves. They can go and they can pursue, relief for themselves. We have limits on how much money you can actually get for different kinds of cases. We have a $5,000 cap for personal injury. The problem is that for some cases, the amount of money somebody might get back for like being hurt or whatnot from a personal injury case, the amount of money they would receive back wouldn't be enough to pay for a lawyer. So I proposed a bill to raise it up. And as a result of my efforts, my bill got a hearing with a Republican majority. They did amend the bill. They made some changes that I didn't approve of, but overall they did make some changes that I ended up supporting. And now people in this state don't necessarily have to hire a lawyer for all these different claims. They can go into small claims court and represent themselves. I think that's pro-consumer, and that's something I did despite having to deal with the fact that I was working with a Republican majority, which I'm not a member of.
Okay. And what other priorities do you have that we may not have already addressed?
I authored a individual right to privacy for the Wisconsin State Constitution. It would make us the 12th state in the country that says we have an individual fundamental right to privacy. It would protect Wisconsinites from governmental overreach into their private lives, their family decisions, choices that they have the right to make that should not be interfered with by the government. I proposed this. It's at the federal level. It's been interpreted to protect the right to choose an abortion, the right to marry who you love. It's a right that we need to protect here, especially in light of what's happening at the federal level with a Supreme Court that is taking activist positions and rolling back rights.
Okay. And what would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
I would say that I anticipate we're going to see some big changes next year. In these elections, there's a lot at stake. People are very motivated. They want to see something change. I would say that if we do see these changes, we see more Democrats elected and we have majorities, we are going to move forward aggressively to address these problems of affordability, problems of a system that is set up not to benefit local taxpayers, schools, and we're going to change that system. We're going to put in place reforms that really make government about helping the regular person, not helping the wealthy, not helping the well-connected, because that is really what government's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be for the people, by the people, for the people.
Well, I want to thank Andrew Hysell for speaking with us and thank the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone the general election is Tuesday, November 3rd, and every election is important. Please vote. On behalf of Madison's City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.